Councilors, those in attendance here today and those that might be tuning in at this moment or in their own time. So meeting here today on the unceded lands of the Palawa people, the original and ongoing owners of the lands that we meet on. I open today's ordinary meeting with the City of Launceston at 10:34. You may be seated. As we do start today's meeting, as of the regulations of 2025, it is now a requirement for me to let you know that audio-visual recording is being made of this meeting, and all persons attending the meeting are to be respectful of and considerate towards other persons attending the meeting. Language and conduct at the meeting that could be perceived as offensive, defamatory, or threatening to a person attending the meeting or listening to the recording is not acceptable. So that's just in the regulations 2025. In the opening of today's meeting as well, we do have some apologies. We've got apologies from the Deputy Mayor, from Councillor Gibson and Councillor Pentridge. So as a part of today's meeting, and with the numbers noting the state government election and resignations, today we only have 7 councillors present for the meeting today. We need to have 7 councillors in the room for the meeting to be held, so if any declarations of interest are made, the items or parts of the item will not have quorum and cannot be tabled. Agenda item 11.2, Councillor Kai has already declared an interest in item 11.2, DA 0088, 76 Cemetery Street. As a planning item with a deemed approval date by extension of the 1st of September this year, a decision is required before this date. In the circumstance, the item cannot be tabled for discussion as there will be no quorum present. Accordingly, the CEO may rely on the delegation approved by Council on the 17th of April under Section 57(6) of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act of 93. Minutes are also attached to this to make a decision on this matter. This delegation is only exercisable in line with the Council Officer's recommendation, where Council does not make an affirmative decision approving or refusing an application at a Council meeting. Agenda item 17.2 and 17.3, major and small event sponsorship. Any declaration of interest of specific events, that specific event will be removed from the table and deferred to the next meeting. The remaining items of the table with no declarations will be tabled and a decision made today. I know that's disappointing for lots of people who have been very passionate, in particular around 11.2 with Planning Authority 76 Cemetery Street. But unfortunately, we are under legislation, and that's the requirements that have been spurred upon us from the regulations. So I do apologise for the way in which today has fallen, but I do hope, and I can see that those members, some of you do understand. In moving forward now through mayoral acknowledgements, I would like to acknowledge the passing of Uncle Rex Greeno, who has been a great contributor to the Launceston, the Aboriginal community. And I note that at yesterday's MGAB meeting, there was a proposed movement for accepting of a further canoe, and which that will now be discussed at the next meeting. But it's great to see the impacts that will be a real legacy here for Launceston and the broader Tasmanian community. So we do pass on our respects there. So we move now forward to declarations of interest. Thanks, Dan. As we mentioned here, with the apologies today of the Deputy, Councillor Pentridge and Councillor Gibson, declarations are going to be really important today. So declarations at ITA agenda number 3, Local Government Act, a councillor must declare any interest that the councillor has in a matter before any discussion on that matter commences. We already have a noted declaration of interest from Councillor Kai, which is at 11.2. Any further declarations? Oh, declaration of interest from the CEO.
Thank you. Through the Chair, Mayor, in accordance with the Act and as per my formal advice to the Office of the Mayor earlier this week, item 20.4 and item 24.2, I declare an interest and I will also vacate the room, and I will ask the Executive Leader of Community Assets and Design to assume the chair.
Thank you, CEO. Cool. We'll just take a moment.
Could I just raise a point of order in regards to that, the first removal of that item at 17, the planning item? So, sorry, 11. So approval is not due until the 1st of September. So in theory, we could call a special meeting to approve it at a later date between now and that date. It doesn't expire today, is all the question I'm asking.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Walker. CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. It's my understanding that, yes, the 1st of September is the expiry of it. Potential for a special council meeting, I would imagine, yes, there is probability for it. And would we have the same quorum issues, given also the 2 vacancies that we have with 2 councillors not yet being sworn in? We couldn't guarantee it. So there is a probability, and direct answer to your question, yes, there is.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Thank you, CEO. So no further declarations of interest, noting that there's sponsorships and grants. Excellent. We'll move forward to the confirmation of minutes, 4.1, with the recommendation being that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held at the City of Launceston Council held on the 31st of July this year be confirmed as a true and correct record. Somebody please to move. Councillor Britton, it's weird seeing you sitting there. And Councillor Harris. Any comments around the minutes? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. At 5, we have council workshops. 5.1, workshop report, 7th of August and the 14th of August. Recommendation being that council notes the council workshops conducted and attended since the last council meeting as published in this agenda. Somebody please to move. Councillor Harris, seconded. Councillor, I almost said the councillor that sits there because it's just complete. Councillor Walker. Councillor Harris, any comments on workshops? Councillor Walker?
Yeah, thank you. It's been a very busy time for workshops and some very significant items that have come through for council always to peruse and discuss, not least of all a presentation about the North East Trail, also a presentation about a proposal for the Gorge Chairlift redevelopment. Many other things there, the potential for a sister city visit to Aikida, and ongoing talks about the redevelopment of what we call the Virtuals building at 118 to 122 Brisbane Street. These are things that have, many of these things have been on the table really for a long time for this council, probably for the entire time of this current council and longer, and it's just heartening to see that things are progressing and that we are getting to the pointy end, I suppose, of some of these decisions. And I know that people have contacted me, noting that these are in the workshop reports, with concerns about what is being discussed or what is being decided. Of course, nothing has been decided, but nonetheless, these are discussed, and we are privileged to be privy to that information. But I would encourage the council at the earliest possibility, with a number of those issues that I just mentioned, that we do communicate with the community as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Any further contributions to workshops? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We've got no councillors' leave of absence applications identified as part of this agenda at 6, so we will move forward to 8 because there's no community reports today either. So 8.1, we've got questions on notice by members of the public. They're published as a part of this agenda. So we'll move forward into our questions without notice from the public at 8.2. Okay, questions without notice. Mr. Christian.
Good morning, I'm Noel Christensen from Launceston, and my question is, did City of Launceston confer with Police Traffic or Tasmanian Road Safety Authority or any other experts in the field before commissioning the Northern Gateway Artwork project, which by its very nature is designed to compromise road safety by diverting driver attention from the immediate traffic environment to somewhere else irrelevant to the task and dangerous. I'm quoting here from this document, which describes the artwork form. The artwork's form is to embrace simplicity in design and achieve a scale that maintains a strong visual presence from multiple angles and distances, particularly from the predominant perspective of passing vehicles. Now, this is located on the apex of a bend where the roadway speed limit is 90 kilometres an hour. On one side, there's diverging traffic. On the other side, there's converging traffic. And trucks coming down the hill are advised to select low gear.
Thank you very much, Mr. Christen, for the question. This is a state government initiative through the Gateway Project, and I'll take that on notice as we have a further look into the requirements and the regulations, noting that there's quite a bit of information there that we might be able to provide to you there. So I'll take that on notice. Thank you. Mr. Ginninan?
Ian Ginninan, 20 Pine Avenue, Newstead. Yeah, great question, I think, and I'd like to see a copy of that report as well from a danger aspect, because I'm concerned about that road, dropping the speed limit to 90 k's from 100. See more accidents on there now than before, and especially you've got tourists, may want to stop, take a photograph, and you've got disaster. Anyway, that wasn't my question. Last time I asked a question about the museum, about the $7.75 million budget loss this year and the 6.991 loss last year. I just asked how council measures the amount of loss that they would take on the museum. I didn't get an answer from you. I did get an answer to say how great the museum is. And I've got no qualms about that at all. But my concern is that the budget loss is 11% over last year, which is 4 times more than the inflation rate. So I took off and asked 51 people, which annoyed me, that wasn't a round figure, and asked how much loss they expect the museum to have taken. They had to be a ratepayer to answer the question. One person said 50,000. No one said they're making a profit. One person said 50,000. A lot said 500,000. A lot round the $2 million mark, and some at the $2.5 million mark. So the perception of the public for that small sample is that a loss of $2 million is probably acceptable. When I told them it was budgeted for this year for $7.75 million, they were horrified. And I just wonder again what the answer is to it. How do you measure your potential loss on the museum against the community thing? The second issue that I had was, again, the gouging rates. I mentioned that Hobart was 3.5. The Mayor mentioned to me that that's Hobart, not Launceston. So I dwelled into that further, and I found that Burnie City is 3.7% and Devonport 3.5%. Looks like Launceston is the odd one out. Inflation rate being about 2.5, 1% local government special rate gives you the 3.5. If you bought a property today and the rates on it was a commercial property was $10,000 at 5.7% per year, if it was that much each year, after 10 years you'd be paying $17,408 at 5.7. At 3.5, you'd be paying $14,104. Over the 10-year period, it's an additional $16,000. If you're a business person like myself, they're all factors of whether you operate a property here in Launceston, one of the factors, or Hobart, or Burnie, or Devonport. And so again, I suggest when you're looking at your rates next year, and that should be looked at now, then that should be a consideration. Because some say it's only a cup of coffee or two, the increase, but certainly there's a lot of cups of coffee in $16,000. And so economically wise, when things aren't that bright, I think it's a factor that people will look at. Lastly, it was the obsolete buildings. I mentioned about the obsolete buildings, and I was given an answer that a very competent group are together and doing a 12-month study on the buildings that council operates. And I think that's very much belated, but very good that it's occurring. Only thing I did ask, and I didn't get an answer back, could they look at some low-hanging fruit at the moment so that a process, if they were to be sold, could begin now on some of those buildings, so the benefits may be seen in a couple of years' time as savings to the council. And one I mentioned was the Lamont site at Infirmary. Again, I believe it's just catering for people out there hooning or causing trouble or whatever it may be. But it apparently doesn't meet any criteria of the councils, including your work health and safety or your compliance criteria as well. So I don't see why that talented group can't pull a couple of buildings out now and go, look, let's look at the process we need to do in selling these. And instead of having a derelict site, you've got a site that's returning rates and business and employment to the community.
Thank you. We'll take that third question on notice, because there's quite a bit in there to look at that process.
Sorry about
We'll take that on notice, the final question. The first question, this council looks at the numbers and what you're calling the costings of the QV mag. I measure that as investment into the community. And for your second question there, can't remember. What was your second question?
Was the rates 3.5,
Sure.
3.7,
This council has a really
3.5 to 5.7 gouging
really
rate.
bold, progressive 10-year strategic plan. We have a financial plan coming to us very shortly as well, and that does come at a cost, and this council has done its very best to work those numbers, to work with the community as to where we want this community to also be going. So thank you.
I just think that obviously those councils are doing something very right, and it might be something that your staff, admin staff, etc., spend some time with them, and there may be some lessons learnt.
Yep, thank you. Further questions without notice? Jackson?
Thank you. There was a question asked last week that may not have been unintentionally.
Just your name and suburb first, Jackson.
Sorry, Jackson Shaw from Youngtown. There was a question asked last week about South Prospect that wasn't answered as intended, so I'm just seeking further clarification. Try and keep it nice and simple and quick. In its first 20 years, the South Prospect development is forecast by the Coordinator General to provide 160 million in rates, 2,000 much needed homes, 400 permanent jobs, and an overall $2 billion impact to this community. So my question is, given that, how is Council quantifying the cost to this community, to our community, of not completing this project? And every year that goes by, the cost of not completing this project.
Thanks, Jackson. Thank you for your question.
Thank
CEO.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you for the question, Mr. Shaw. As outlined in an email I think I sent last week, and I believe you're included on that email, and I think you'll be pleased by this equally as we are pleased that this council has actually made a decision to act on those very numbers that you've just quoted. Whilst I appreciate the South Prospect development has been debated for a long period of time, and probably too long, we would all agree. And whilst I acknowledge previous decisions of this council to start the process and not complete the process for varying reasons, I also acknowledge that this council in recent times, in fact in the last 12 months, has made a very firm commitment to growth in the city of Launceston, not just at South Prospect, but also within its northern suburbs, including in Unum, including in St Leonards, including in Waverley, also including inner city living as well, which is identified through our strategic plan. You would also be aware that our housing plan that has been adopted in only just the last 2 months also clearly identifies South Prospect as a growth area for the city of Launceston. Within our annual plan, which has also been distributed to yourself and to the public, it clearly highlights South Prospect as an action and priority for our team in the coming 12 months, of which we will be starting the process of doing the neighbourhood planning and the infrastructure funding planning. So I think there is enough decision making that has been shared publicly and clearly demonstrated that this council takes its development very seriously, and it clearly identifies South Prospect as a very significant and positive development for the City of Launceston, and that's exactly why we're investing in that as well as other developments to make sure we bring to life the numbers that you mentioned just earlier.
Thank you, CEO. Thanks, Jackson. Any further questions without notice? Yes, sir?
Since I've written a piece of paper, am I a question without notice or a question?
Without notice? Yep, that's fine. And just starting with your name and suburb.
Paul Cole, 54 Herbert Street, Invermay. Tiger bus. I catch the Tiger bus. I catch the Tiger bus once, twice a week. I see disabled people on it. For instance, this morning when I came in on the Tiger bus, there are at least 15 people on board. I believe that, having just heard that your art gallery costs $6 million to run, that $300,000 a year, where no income is required or no fare is required, is a drop in the bucket to provide this essential service to the disabled of this community. Also, to citizens in Invermay who may catch the bus, and some of us do on a regular basis. I have talked to tourists on the bus who have told me that it is very hard to find information as to how this bus runs. Also, some of my other residents in Invermay have told me they know nothing about it. This points to a want for more information given out, and I protest at the cessation of this service. That's about all I've got to say.
No, great, thank you. And we really appreciate that feedback. And I take some of the commentary that you've made there around its awareness and its capacity is something that we are now doing a review of, and a super commitment to ensuring that there will be conversations into the future around the best use for that service. It's not the Tiger bus service at the moment, but there is a really strong commitment from this council around active transport and a way in which we can facilitate a better model than what the Tiger bus is doing. And I personally am very passionate about finding something that replaces the Tiger bus. It just has to come into a review period right now.
I understand that. Being a former bus driver myself, and being aware that no public transport makes a profit. It's a service. It's not a profit-making business. The only people who make profit from it are people like Veolia and that. But it has to be provided because that's what you do in a modern society. You give back to the ratepayers some services. Mostly for me, it's the disabled people who will no longer be able to go out for the day and interact with each other. I'm quite happy with them. I don't know how to say this without getting into trouble. I've been on the bus so many times now that I'm an honorary loon.
Excellent.
And I think that it should be continued. I really think that you've made a mistake there.
Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciate your feedback. Any further questions without notice? Okay. Right, moving through the agenda at 9 and 10, we have no petitions and deputations, but we will now move into Planning Authority. So under the provisions of the Land Use Planning Act and approvals of 1993, Council acts as a planning authority in regards to items attached in the agenda at item 11, Planning Authority. 11.1, we have the rezoning, partial rezoning from agricultural to rural at 40 Los Angeles Road, Swan Bay, also described as 729739 John Lees Drive. Before we get to the recommendation, comments from the public. I do have a couple noted here. I've got John, Tom and Chloe. If you wanted to make your way to the microphone for any comments before we have a conversation.
I don't know if you've got my name right.
I've got John, Tom and Chloe written down in front of me.
Well, my name's John, yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. My name's John Chaplin. I live at 127 Windermere Road. I border on the specifically Block B. Okay, that's all I'm interested in. And I'm more concerned about the wetland. Right, there is an 82-page report that doesn't really take into consideration that wetland. It is called a salt marsh, and I don't know the difference between a wetland and a salt marsh. I'd like that, if that could be clarified. This wetland is reasonably significant. It's probably 200 acres plus. It is protected from prevailing winds from westerly and northwesterly. This allows birds of prey to access that where there's no other wetland available to them and that sort of stuff, and they frequent that area there. Therefore, I think that there's no consideration for fauna of these sort of things that's been done in this report, and I can't kind of think you've got a huge piece of land and there's no consideration for it. An 82-page report, no consideration for it. I also border the land, and there's 5 other houses, or 5 altogether, properties that border between low tide and high tide. Now that land can only be accessed through my property, right? Which I don't really mind for the landowner to do that. If that is sold, okay, or moved on, and grazing's not going on, then a fire hazard will appear before Christmas, I would sort of think there. And you can't get any pieces of machinery in there unless you go through my property and that sort of stuff there, which makes a bit of a problem, I think. I'm also a little bit fearful that I could wake up one day to find the wetland covered in duck hides, and to hear a pre-dawn duck shooting sort of going on, or a quick shot after work sort of thing as I look out over the wetland sort of thing there. I don't sort of see that there's been a lot of consideration for the wetland. That's basically my point of contention. I've spoken to town planning about that and a few other people about that, but I'm not rest assured. If you could do that, you could rest assure me that that might be happening. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, John. Tom and Chloe?
Thank you, Chloe Lyon. I'm the planning consultant acting for the proponent of this rezoning. I've reviewed all the representations, and it seems like a lot of the issues have conflated rezoning with development. Sure, I 100% agree that when we look at a rezoning amendment, we need to look at what the potential future developments that allows, and whether it's appropriate or not. But in this case, unlike seems to be inferred in the representations, we're looking at a rezoning from agriculture to rural. We're not looking at any urban zoning. We're not even looking at rural living zoning. Yes, the rural zone allows a few more uses to be considered than in the agriculture zone, but practically speaking, if you look at that land, nothing is going to be able to be developed on the wetland. It floods, and it's already protected by existing overlays, and this amendment actually proposes to add the priority vegetation overlay to that wetland, a protection that is not currently afforded to it. So probably in answer to my previous speaker's call, there's actually probably more protections to it. Even without those overlays, I would argue that that wetland is highly unlikely to be developed. It floods, it's it's low down on the ground, got low elevation, limited access, etc. So I just can't see it happening. So I support the proposal to change, as recommended by the council planner, to change the extent of the priority vegetation overlay from TasVeg 3 to 4, and I would urge you all to vote in favour of this moving forward to the Tasmanian Planning Commission to consider it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chloe. Tom?
Hi, my name's Tom Bertram. My wife and I are the owners of 729 to 739 John Lees Drive. Thank you for your time once again. I believe we've answered all the objections in our written response, but given we're all here, there are just a few points that I'm wanting to clarify. Firstly, I find it interesting that the objectors were able to confidently identify both the agricultural capacity and productivity of our land by simply just driving past. At no point has there been any consultation with myself as the landowner and farmer in regard to how we farm and manage the property. There has only been opinions formed and incorrect assumptions made. We're not proposing a residential development with hundreds of 600 square metre blocks. This is simply a zoning change for a portion of our property from agricultural to rural. This would enable us to potentially utilise this piece of land that has limited agricultural potential in the future in the interest of family succession planning. We don't know what will happen in the future, but maybe one day one of our children may be able to build their forever home on this land also. My family has a long history of farming this land that my wife and 3 children have been grateful to call our home for the past 11 years. Over the time we've had the farm, many tides have come and gone across a significant portion of this section of land, which continues to deteriorate what was once, in my grandfather's time, prime farming land. This long legacy of farming tradition places a sense of pride and sometimes pressure, to be honest, to continue to keep this land within our family for many generations to come. This only change is in the interest of ensuring that this legacy can continue for my own children. It's not about profitability through residential development, it's about family, and it's an informed request based on facts detailed in the reports provided. This farm is our home and we want it to remain on into the future and support our children's futures too where possible. Despite the assumptions and opinions raised in these objections, we ask that you consider the facts and reports provided to inform and further validate your support for this rezoning proposal. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. Excellent. There being no more noted speakers, any other speakers from the gallery? Okay. There being none, we will move forward to the recommendation. The recommendation is that Council amend the priority vegetation overlay, in which we've just heard some, and recommends to the Tasmanian Planning Commission that the draft amendment be approved with the published changes. That's in our agenda today. Somebody please to move. Councillor Harris has moved, seconded by Councillor Britton. Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. I might start with a couple of questions of our planners, if I may, just to help understand what the difference perhaps is between a wetlands and a salt marsh.
Not a problem. We utilise the list mapping to identify wetlands. So this is described as a salt marsh wetland, as defined within TasVeg. TasVeg is the digital vegetation mapping for the state.
So a salt marsh doesn't have salt in it, or because it seems a long way up the river to be salt as such.
I wouldn't have the specifics, but that is the clarification that, or the identification that area has.
The second question would be in regard to the zoning change to rural. It does allow in the future perhaps the development of one house on the property. Is that my understanding? Can you have multiple houses on that property?
No. So actually agriculture, they're very similar in terms of what they're actually allowed. There are some slight, provisions in the scheme of how you go about applying for that. But that's right. A rural lot can only have one single dwelling.
Thank you. And I guess probably looking at that land, my father always says you're not making any more land. The ability to drain or build a canal development or something like that at a future time would require obviously rezoning and coming back through this chamber for anything like that to happen. So we would not expect anything to change. Is that?
Yeah, look, that's correct. Probably something also just to point out is the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. So that's external to the planning system, but that looks at wetlands, threatened flora and fauna, and offers further protection. So, I mean, can't say what would happen in the future, but I think, yeah, it'd be pretty unlikely.
Okay. And just to be sure on that, a farmer can't just continue to build the land level up so that it's no longer wet, if you like. So could he escalate the land level, as we've perhaps seen at the Glebe Farm, where we've seen the river being kept out of what was floodplains when I was a child, to now being restricted to the river course?
Yeah, look, the scheme has provisions around fill now, the current planning scheme. So that's right. If someone were wanting to fill essentially a wet land, there'd be provisions of the planning scheme and again provisions of that Biodiversity Conservation Act that would need to be considered.
And that would come back through this chamber?
Yes.
Thank you. As such, I'm quite happy for us to move forward with this partial rezoning. We've heard from the landowner of what he wishes to do in the future. It is obviously always difficult to predict what the future will hold. However, I am reassured that should anything, perhaps what many will consider the worst end of the development, can occur on this site, it will come back before this. And as such, I feel there is no real reason for us to oppose this rezoning from agriculture to rural for this particular piece of land at this stage. It did draw 20 objections or questions. It may have only been from a smaller number, which was good to see that people are actually engaged in the process, and we as council must look at that. But having said it, having read the responses, most of them have been addressed, and it is generally because people don't have a greater understanding of the planning scheme or what it may mean, or in fact what the overlay of the TASVEG 4 may mean compared to what it was before. So I'm quite comfortable that we now move forward and send this off to the planning appeals process for them to consider rezoning the land from agriculture to rural.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Seconded by Councillor Britton. Anything further?
Only quick. I was going to. Could we get half an explanation in 20 seconds on what the difference is between the overlay that's currently there and what's going to be put on it? TASVEG 4?
Yeah, so TASVEG 4 is the latest TASVEG mapping. So it's the most up-to-date state digital mapping that looks at threatened flora and fauna and vegetation communities. So under the agricultural zone, there's currently the agricultural zone does not apply priority vegetation overlays. The rural zone does. So when this first was initiated, we utilised TASVEG 3 data. Now, through a representation, rightly pointed out that there is more up-to-date data. So what we've done is utilise that to reflect, I guess, greater boundaries than what we originally, what you originally voted on.
Great.
No worries, thank you. And yeah, just to echo what Councillor Harris has already said, obviously, I think there's a bit of confusion between what we're doing today and whether there was an actual development going onto the property, and obviously there isn't. And in the future, if all the representatives would like to scrutinise those developments, they can. But yeah, as it stands today, I'm happy for this to go through. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Britton. Further contributions? Councillor Kai.
I have a question. So, as John had brought up, thank you, speakers, for coming to speak. As John has talked about the issue of no access without going through his property, I was just wondering, how do we address that?
Yeah, thank you. So that section is beneath the representative's property, and currently access is through that property. Now, this rezoning doesn't change the accessibility of that, and whether a neighbour wants to let them through or they'd have to make their own way through there. Now, I know that some of the concerns raised were regard to fire. For example, what would happen if it stopped being run as a rural farm and was let go. Now, council has processes of abatement, so if something were to cause an issue, abatement notices can be provided, but that would be up to the landowner to consider and respond to. But importantly, the rezoning isn't a development, so there's no change to the title boundaries of the property.
Right, so John can be assured that what we're doing today is we're not putting his property at risk of other people going through or other neighbours using his property then?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McMahon?
Thank you. For me, this is a fairly straightforward one, a change in rezoning from a very small change, a strengthening in the overlays, a slight change in the provisions and no real impact to surrounding property. So I will be voting in favour. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McMahon. Another question, Councillor Harris. Noting for councillors that every question that's asked actually has to be minuted as well as a part of the regulations 2025. We're getting a couple of questions around developments when this is basically and fundamentally working on just a rezoning, as Councillor McMahon has eloquently just said, that's what we're voting on today. So just being mindful for our minute takers and our governance team. Councillor Harris.
Just a question in regard to what TASVEG 4 means compared to TASVEG 3.
So we have had that question that was already asked.
No, mine's a different one. If you look at the land classification, you go from land classification 1, 2 to 3 up to 6, where each one is different as such. But this sounds like we started with TASVEG 1 at some point, which was replaced by 2, which was replaced by 3, was replaced by 4. Am I correct in assuming that? Or is this a higher level than what was there before?
When you're referring to, I believe, what you're referring to is land capability. So that's for rural purposes. That falls in line with the protection of agricultural land policy, and it's a way of identifying land for their potential for agricultural purposes. Now, TASVEG is different. TASVEG looks at your threatened flora and fauna. So essentially, it can be updated to include, if there's further sightings, for example, of threatened flora or fauna on the property, that mapping can be updated, which has occurred. I mean, it's updated all the time. I don't know specifically when, TASVEG 5 might come out. All I can say is that that's what, I guess, the direction from the Commission when looking at priority vegetation overlay is to use that mapping and the most up-to-date. Yeah, that's right.
Councillor Walker, question.
Thank you, Chair. This overlay provides additional protections, I suppose you would say, compared to the agricultural zone if this amendment was, if this change to the zoning was to take place?
That's correct. What it applies is the Natural Assets Code for any future development.
But nonetheless, that applies not to the whole property, but to a significant portion of the property. Would that be also correct?
That's correct, yes.
So then it is the case that what we are doing here today is applying the rural zone as opposed to the agricultural zone to the entire property, and there is a significant portion of the property that will now have permitted uses that it doesn't currently have.
There are a few uses, that's right, and there's also changes, I guess, in qualifications to some of the uses that you can have in the agricultural zone. It just means you might need to provide some more information in the rural zone.
Sure. So in the rural zone, I will speak now if I can. Thank you, Chair. In the rural zone, there are quite a number of additional permitted uses, and I suppose that is probably not something that has been addressed here yet. We have had an example previously where this council has approved the exact same zone change in another part of our municipality. When that has occurred, someone has gone forward and done significant earthworks to create, I suppose, what can only be seen as a commercial enterprise on that property. I won't specifically name what that is, but nonetheless, that is the result. When land is no longer agricultural, that it can be moved towards a business that I suppose it's generally argued in the planning scheme, supports rural enterprise in general. But that is a many and varied thing, I suppose. So, and we're not to know when we do this rezoning what that could or couldn't be. It might not ever occur, or it might occur. And I suppose that is the real question when it comes to this rezoning. I think it's very clear that the waterway area, salt marsh, wetland, is going to gain additional protections. The priority vegetation zone, it does gain additional protections. But it's the large majority of the land that is not in that area, not the majority, probably a minority of the land of the actual site that's not in that area, that does, this change would allow for additional uses. So that's where my concern lies. I don't think it's something that's easily explored because a landowner can say, I have no intention, or I may have a future intention, and we're not to know. But once we do change that zone, I think it is only pertinent that this table realises that that is the change that we're making today. And so I'll leave it at that and see where the vote lies.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Councillor Walker. Any further contributions? Anything to close? Great. Okay.
Point of order, does this require an absolute majority? CEO?
No, it doesn't. It's not written in my recommendations. I'll read out. I'll be mindful of that, though. Thank you, Councillor Walker, today. I'll be mindful to ensure that that is expressed, because there are quite a few today. Absolute majorities, and absolute for City of Launceston is 7. 6 and 1. Half of 12, 6 plus 1 is 7. Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Walker against? The motion is carried. Okay, Council no longer sits as planning authority. Thank you, officers. Thank you, Executive Leader. Thank you for those who have come in and spoken today. Okay, mayoral acknowledgements, they are published as a part of this agenda at 12. So, councillor reports. Any councillor reports? I've got Councillor McMahon and Councillor Harris.
Thank you. Before I do my actual report, I'd just like to take a moment to recognise our outgoing Councillor Dawkins. First elected in 2014, as we've seen, a passionate advocate for key progressive policy, environmental sustainability, social equity and community wellbeing. Her experience and support in this room will be greatly missed.
Thank you.
On the 20th of July, I attended the Seroptinus International Launceston Pamper Day for people with a disability as my role as their patron, one of my favourite days and one of my favourite roles on the council. Another amazing day where I got to paint nails, give shoulder massages and dance with the participants to the ukuleles. It was a great day. I'd like to also thank the City of Launceston on behalf of Seroptinus Launceston for funding the event and for recognising the benefits to those in our community that events like these bring. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. Yes, with yourself, we went up to Ravenswood on Friday the 1st of August to have a chat to the residents that we could find up there, first of all at the skate park and then over at the shopping centre. And that was a good, useful opportunity to have some face-to-face conversations with community members who often may not get the opportunity to talk to councillors. Also attended the Franklin House Committee. It's good to see that the Franklin House has now been reopened after a period of closure for the first time in virtually memory, I think. It's always been open 363 days a year, I think. But they had the whole month of July, which has undertaken a number of much-needed remedial works, which is still underway in the stables area. But they are now open and they will have slightly longer hours once daylight saving comes. So people should always look online and they can book their tours online as well. On Tuesday of this week, I joined with some of the, with Sarah McCormick, I was going to call her McKinnon, Sarah McCormick and her team of the Launceston Connection area out at Waverley, where we had a couple of hours spent talking at the Waverley Primary School with the local community. And what came out strongly to me was a discussion where they are very keen to have some sort of Waverley community centre or hall established in this small community, which doesn't have a lot of facilities. And finally, yesterday, the Mayor and I entertained or had the Kings Meadows High School Grade 7 students during the day to take a tour of the Town Hall and also get some understanding of civics, is probably how it's best described. They were a delight to have, and hopefully they did learn something. And it does open the, I guess, to other people who may have school groups or other ways who want to understand what actually goes on in Town Hall to make contact with our staff, and they can see what can be arranged. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Councillor Kai, then Councillor Walker.
Thank you very much. So on the 29th of July, I attended the 2025 UTAS Scholarship Thank You Morning Tea, which was held at the new UTAS campus, the Shed, located opposite the City Park. On behalf of the City of Launceston Scholarship and Bursary Committee, I had the pleasure of meeting and celebrating alongside other scholarship sponsors, recipients and members of the UTAS academic staff. It was wonderful to catch up with our special student, Hayley, who is now studying medicine in Hobart. It is heartwarming to hear all those scholarships how these scholarships have made a meaningful impact on the students' studies and daily lives. Congratulations to all the recipients, especially our student Hayley. Now, on the 6th of August, I joined Mayor Garwood in celebrating 80 new Australian citizens from 27 different countries at the City of Launceston citizenship ceremony held at the Tramshed Function Centre. Oh, and Councillor Walker as well. I have the pleasure of witnessing also Councillor Walker's family taking the pledge, and I'm grateful to have been part of their celebration on this very special day. Now, lastly, I have a very exciting announcement for all those with children. So those listening, listen up. The 2025 Heritage Sketch Competition is now open to students from kindergarten to year 12, with a total of $2,800 in book vouchers up for grabs. To enter, simply create a 2D artwork representing a heritage place in Launceston, inspired by this year's theme, Our Place, Our Stories. So along with your artwork, please include a brief description of the place, building or object, and explain what Our Place, Our Stories means to you. Entries are due by Friday, September the 19th. So you have 4 more weeks to get creative. So good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kai. Councillor Walker.
Yeah, I think it's called stealing your thunder, isn't it, really? I did have the pleasure of attending along with the Mayor and Councillor Kai, and I know it's in your diary points there, Mayor, on the 6th of August, the citizenship ceremony, the details of which Councillor Kai has provided. But yes, it is my daughter-in-law and my grandson, Pena and Sapek, who are now Cambodian Australians, who took the pledge, and I think that we can easily forget how important this is in somebody's life, and I suppose seeing it within my own family, the significance of the event, what people do working up towards this day is really, a big impact in their lives. And also to see the Mayor officiating and doing such a wonderful job of welcoming these 80 people, I thought was fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Any further contributions? Councillor Palmer?
Thank you very much, Mayor. I feel as though I should start, because I've moved up a little bit on the table here, a health and wellbeing. I would like to also pay my respects to Councillor George Raze and Councillor Andrea Dawkins for the outstanding contribution they gave to our community. On Saturday the 9th of August was the 7 Tasmania Open Dance Sport Championships at the Silver Dome. Of course, I was there, and the Mayor, you were there, thank you very much. I'd like to start by saying thank you so much to all the volunteers, the many volunteers that help us run that event. Without them, we simply couldn't do it. To all the amazing sponsors throughout our community, thank you. To the officials that flew in, the competitors from across Australia. You packed our cafes, our restaurants, our hotels, our motels, our Airbnbs. So
Thank you very much. The Seven Tasmania Open Dance Sport Championship is a signature event of the City of Launceston. So thank you very much to everyone for that. Monday, the 18th of August, with yourself, Mayor, we attended the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Day at the Launceston Cenotaph, and leading the service was Reverend Vic Hines, President Kerry McCormack, yourself, Mayor, and patron Brian Harper, OAM. In 1962 to 1963 was our involvement in the Vietnam War. 60,000 Australian troops served, 521 troops lost their life, 3,000 were wounded, and today and every day we say thank you, lest we forget. Wednesday, the 20th of August, I attended in my role as the Community Advisory Committee for the St Vincent de Paul out there for the former YMCA building. Every month we meet this committee, and there's some exciting announcements coming to the council table soon. I'd like to say thank you very much to our own council officer, Sarah McCormack, for the amazing work that she's doing in that space, and Sam Grace from St Vincent de Paul. She does a power of work behind the scenes, and I'm very excited about what is happening there in the old YMCA building. And as I say, there'll be a full report coming to the table very soon. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Any further contributions? Okay, we'll move forward to questions by councillors at 14. They're published as a part of this agenda. So 14, what are we going to do? 14.2, do we have any questions without notice by councillors? Councillor Walker?
Yes, thank you. Off the back of that mention of the former YMCA building and works going on out there that council are contributing to in the refurbishment of that community hub at Kings Meadows, it was previously the case that the YMCA were the beneficiaries of the leased land that council owns, leased to the supermarket next door. It's quite a substantial parcel of land. To look at it, you wouldn't realise that it's actually council land. It looks like part of the supermarket car park. And I just wanted to get a response as to, as I say, previously the YMCA was the beneficiary of that lease, that income, and whether or not it is possible that St Vincent de Paul may also be the beneficiaries of that income attached to that property.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. We'll take that on notice to get that information. Thank you. Great question. Any further questions? Okay, moving through to committee reports at 16. 16.1, we've got the Cultural Advisory Committee report on the 4th and the 6th. 4th of June, 6th of August. So we've got the recommendation here that council adopts the confirmed minutes of both the 4th and the 6th, and also at point 3 endorses the Cultural Advisory Committee's recommendation to award the contract to artist Georgia Hill for installation of the agreed artwork as a mural on the Seaport levee walls. Somebody please to move. Councillor Walker as a chair of that committee, second by Councillor Britton as a member of that committee also. Councillor Walker, anything further to the report?
No, the report is there, and I thank the council, the cultural advisory officers for the detail of the report and the attached notes that go with that. This is something that has been brought forward by our CEO through our executive staff and officers, that we would have a more thorough reporting mechanism for our committees, and so that's what we do have here. And noting that this recommendation also endorses the Cultural Advisory Committee's recommendation to award the contract to artist Georgia Hill for the installation of the agreed artwork as a mural on the Seaport levee wall. Now, what does all that mean? It means that council is going through a process of culturally activating our city in many and varied ways. This is something that has been taken on board by our officers with gusto, and seeking to bring new levels of cultural expression to our city, and we've seen the results of that around our city. We will indeed see more of those results around our city, and this is one such result. This is something that goes through a process. on the advisory committee, and in this case has also been brought to councillors through council workshop. And it is something where, my opinion or your opinion in regards to what makes good public art is probably something that, as we know, it's very subjective. But it's also something that professional practitioners, whether they be on our committee or working for council, have an in-depth knowledge of, and it's something that is intended to bring the liveliness and of that cultural expression to our city, something that I think has been welcomed and embraced by our community as that has progressed. So I do heartily recommend support the recommendation here today, and encourage the community and, of course, councillors to have a look at the cultural advisory report and indeed the attached details of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Britton, anything further?
Only very quickly to say thanks very much to Dr. Abby McDonald for her contribution to the Cultural Advisory Committee, and looking forward to seeing the Howard Street mural and how that progresses, and very much looking forward to seeing the completion of the Seaport mural once it does happen. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Britton. Any further contributions to the report? Great, thank you. Okay, putting it to the vote. Oh, you want to close? I
will close only because I just noted also, and there was a question on public notice, public question time today about the Gateway project, and indeed, as the Mayor pointed out, it is something that is state funded. Again, something that is being handled through a professional process of practitioners within the committee, but also professional organisations that provide advice around these types of things. And that process is midway through, I suppose. There will come a time where this table, and indeed the public, will get more information about what a number of proposals will be presented, and there will be a process whereby the community can have input on that one in particular. It's not without contention, and I accept that. Even the location, and I accept,
Councillor Walker, let's not get too much into the Gateway for this presentation. I appreciate your reference.
But,
I appreciate your reference.
Yeah, but just wanting to acknowledge that that community concern is valid, but to reassure that this is a thorough process. Thank you.
Thank you. To the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Thank you, Henry. Connections and livability at 17, we've got 17.1, which is the Cindy of Mandurah Youth Services, with the recommendation being that council receives the report and it also considers Mandurah's youth engagement model for potential implementation throughout Launceston. Somebody please to move. Councillor McMahon, seconded by Councillor Britton. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a note in regards to Oscar Shea, who has been running the YAD program. Obviously, I'm lucky enough to sit on that committee. He's done an amazing job recruiting and building on that group, and there's some really awesome youth that are on that group at the moment, very passionate. And I personally would love to see this group further developed. I think we are missing lots of opportunity to hear the voices and the ideas of our youth, and believe that they could play a much bigger role within council and our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McMahon. Councillor Britton, anything around the table before we get to a question from Councillor Harris?
My question, Mayor, is just in regard to item 2 of the recommendation that considers the Mandurah youth engagement model for potential implementation. And when we look at the report, it indicates that currently our council spends somewhere around $160,000. Mandurah spend over $1 million and have 8 people working on that. If we are to consider their engagement model, what would be the process before we would go from spending $160,000 to over $1 million, so that and will it come back through this chamber before any changes are actually made?
Great question. Thank you, Councillor Harris. For clarification, it is in the report there also that a report from looking at how we would implement that would further come back to council, and I would assume that would start at a workshop Because, yeah, we're not going to go and endorse $1 million strategy when we haven't budgeted, but we've got long-term financial planning coming up. But that will be coming to council as a separate report. Thank you. Great. Further contributions? Excellent. Anything to close, Councillor McMahon? Okay, put it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Cool. 17.2, we have got the major event sponsorship round 2. Thank you. We've got the recommendation being that council approves the following and published major event sponsorship applications to be received. To receive the recommended sponsorship amount for 25-26 major events and sponsorships. I got moved by Councillor Palmer, seconded by Councillor Harris. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Yes, this is the major event sponsorship round 2. Budget for this round was $111,000. We are recommending a total of $72,750 with a surplus of $38,250. Which is good. I'd like to thank the panel members, both in council and external, for all the hours they put into this grant applications, as there's many submissions that we read through, and we really do appreciate all our panel members. There was only one conflict of interest in regards to one of our panel members, Alina Bain, stepping out of the room for the assessment of the Ladbrokes Launceston Cup, for everyone's awareness. But we do have some amazing events on there that I'm sure everybody has read through. One very topical one was the Mushroom Festival. That got a lot of interesting. But yes, we're very happy for them, and it obviously ties in very nicely with our City of Gastronomy. So we're really excited to be a part of that event. And yeah, I'd like everyone to approve the table that's on the screen now. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Palmer. Councillor Harris, anything further around the table? Anything to close? Great. Putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. At 17.3, we've got the small event sponsorship round, with the recommendation being that council approves the published small event sponsorship applications to receive the recommended sponsorship amounts for 25-26 small events. Somebody to move? Councillor Palmer, seconded by Councillor Harris. Councillor Palmer?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the small event sponsorship round 2, budget for this round was $60,000. Recommended for approval was a total of $40,977. And again, we had a surplus of $19,023. No conflicts of interest were declared in this round. And it's very exciting just to see so many different events, so many different. We've got Wobble there, we've got Walking Wild Tasmania, we've got Live at the Library. So you can see there's quite a range of different events that the City of Launceston provides. And we're really excited with this table up there on the screen now. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Councillor Harris, anything further around the table? Okay, put it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We have no QEMAG report with us today at 18. Community Assets and Design. Thank you, Executive Leader. 19.1 is the Urban and Rural Road Weed Management. Now, this is coming to Council to accept, through the recommendation, the tender submitted by All Weed Solutions from the Urban and Rural Road Management Weeding Team. So this is for 2 years, from the 1st of September to the 30th of August 27, with the option to review for up to a further 2 years. Somebody to move? Councillor Britton, seconded by Councillor Harris. Anything further to the recommendation? Councillor Harris? No. Anything around the table? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Thank you, team. Delivery and performance, we've got 20.1, which is budget amendments, with the recommendation being, this is an absolute majority, that council, by absolute majority, approves the published changes to the 24-25 statutory estimates as published. Somebody to move? Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Britton. Councillor Harris?
I'll take the report as written, and as many of you who may be listening, council often starts off with money in one bucket. It may be operations and it becomes capital, or it may be capital and it becomes operations as it moves through the budget cycle of actually spending that money. And fundamentally, that is what a lot of all this actually is. It isn't huge amounts of money suddenly being acquired or given away. It's actually mostly just moving from the various buckets.
Great, thanks, Councillor Harris. Anything further around the table? Councillor Kai, a question?
Yeah. So the first question is on 1A, we've got Patterson Street Central redevelopment. Can I ask what that project is?
Acting Executive Leader.
Sorry. I will have to take that question on notice, Councillor Kai, because my Senior Leader of Finance isn't here. So
right, okay.
Thank you.
Is it? Oh, the CR, right, okay. And I just have another question regarding the, what number is this one? The project number OP22869, which is the Heritage Advisory Committee. I've noticed that current approved amount is 20,000 and 7,000 has been transferred out of it. Now, this is for what's already gone, correct? Not for what's coming? Would that be correct?
again, Councillor Kai, the Senior Leader of Finance, isn't here at the moment, so we'll have to take that question on notice.
Okay, so yeah, and just I think one more. The wall-mounted breathalyzers. So I've noticed here we've got CP24738 where we've transferred $17,500 to the new budget of having wall-mounted breathalyzers, and I just wanted to sort of question about that as well, if we could find out what that's about as well. Yeah.
I can actually answer that. So the wall-mounted breathalyzers have been installed to support our new random testing policy in terms of drugs and alcohol and other drugs in the workplace. So the wall-mounted breathalyzers have been installed so our people can self-test before they commence work.
Right. Okay. So we come into work and then we think we might be a bit over the limit or something, and then
Right. So it's a values-aligned approach for people to be able to self-test and then take personal leave if they're not fit to be at work.
Oh, okay, right. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Clark. Any further contributions? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We've got the audit panel meeting now at 20.2. Decision is to receive the report. Somebody please to move. Councillor Walker. Seconded. Councillor Harris. Anything further to the report? Councillor Walker.
Nothing further to add other than there's the next audit panel meeting next week.
Thank you. Councillor Harris. Anything around the table? Okay. To the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We've got some disposal of council interest to discuss now in an easement in 76 Cemetery Street. So this is the recommendation. At 1, that council notes the value that has been provided, and 2, it also notes that we amend the petition to $1 plus all relevant costs, including the council's fees, which is $1,732. This is by absolute majority at number 2. Okay, somebody to move, please. Okay, Councillor Walker, seconded by Councillor Harris. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, and I was going to be speaking to this, but when we were going to talk about the planning application, but nonetheless, here we are. It's interesting that this appeared in the agenda after the seeking of an approval of the DA, but nonetheless, that hasn't occurred today. So all we have here is the removal of a drainage easement that has no practical purpose. It's a historical legacy item that encumbers that site. And after council has discussed this and indeed made a consideration at the workshop on the 17th of July, here it is, the amendment, and I recommend it to the table.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Anything further, Councillor Harris? Anything round the table? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present. Motion is carried. 20.4, we've got committee membership and terms of reference for the Chief Executive Officer contract and performance review, noting that the CEO has a Declared interest. We've got executive leaders helping fill in that space. So the decision for recommendation is to be that council approves the appointment of all councillors as members of the Chief Executive Committee Officer Contract and Performance Review Committee, and by absolute majority, again, rescinds the decision made in the council meeting on the 17th of October and approves the updated CEO Contract and Performance Review Committee terms of reference as circulated and published. Somebody please to move. Councillor Kai, seconded by Councillor Walker. Councillor Kai, anything to contribute?
Only I think this is quite a very good idea, because when we first voted to say who was going to be on that committee, there was quite a few members that would like to be on it, but because we restricted down to 3,
Sure.
some had to, like Councillor Walker, he had to step back to give that seat to somebody else. So I reckon this is a great idea moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
I think this can only improve communication and relations between our Chief Executive Officer and the table. I think that it is one of the crucial relationships that needs to be always maintained and built in this chamber. This has come forward in the name of transparency and accountability. I think it is useful for every councillor to have an active interest in this area, because it's really where the responsibilities of us as councillors get to be exercised through who is essentially our one employee, the CEO, someone that we place a lot of trust and faith in to carry out the wishes, whatever they may be, this table deems appropriate. So in doing that, I think that it will be, like I say, useful for the ongoing relationship. But I will finish just with a question, because I'm just not sure when it comes to that membership, would it be like other committees where there would have to be a minimum quorum? It's reflected in there? Then I missed that piece, I'm sorry to say. I'll read it a bit more closely unless you wish to just clarify that one point. But otherwise, yeah, recommend it to the table. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think it's reflected in the report, but thank you for clarifying. Question, Councillor Harris.
Yes, just my question is, we're now here today, the 21st, I think, of August, and it says an annual review is to be completed no later than the 31st of July, so which we haven't done. So when do we intend to do it? I had a look in my calendar and see no meeting invite for that, so have we got a date?
28th of August, which will be our next workshop, where it will be facilitated by an external professional.
Thank you.
Is what's proposed.
Thank you.
And we have done the relevant legislational checks of that also. Good question. Thank you. Anything further around the table? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the work around that too, because that has taken a lot of resource and a lot of time. So thank you. Okay, strategy and innovation. 21.1. We have the non-application for a public tender process, procurement of some of our software. So we've got the recommendation here. This is another absolute majority, that council approves the renewal of the Aggregus software over a 3-year period. I know I haven't said that right, but somebody please to move. Councillor Harris, seconded. Councillor Britton. Councillor Harris.
Yes, thank you. I might ask for a update from the officer as to why we find ourselves in the non-application of a public tender process, having understood that certain software is often only available, and to continue to use it, it's necessary, but I'll let you tell me the background.
This is the only tender received. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's a enterprise agreement, so it's over a 3-year period, which gives us a lot greater advantage rather than just paying for annual maintenance, which would have been the case probably several years ago. So we've moved to this enterprise agreement with Esri Australia, and that gives us significant access to a lot more of the usual software that we would get under a maintenance agreement. So It enables us to roll out the software mapping applications to staff. I think in the report it mentioned that there's at least 100 staff that depend on these systems for their daily work throughout the day, so it's quite an important aspect to staff operations. So I'm not sure if I've fully answered your question there, Councillor.
I might just have a question. I read somewhere, I thought, about it being part of the a firewall. Was that perhaps another item, or am I dreaming?
I don't think it's part of the firewall, although we do have two systems. We have an internal system and an external system that runs on the cloud. So the public-facing one that the public see is our external one. So they operate separately inside and outside the firewall.
But this is not actually part of that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Any further contributions or questions? No? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We've now got the City of Launceston Annual Plan 24-25 progress against the annual plan actions for the period ending the 30th of June for the fourth quarter. 21.2, we've got the recommendation to receive and note the progress, and also to note that the final reporting period is for the 24 and 25 in this recommendation. Somebody please to move. Councillor Harris, seconded. Councillor McMahon. Councillor Harris, anything further to the...
No, only that it's good to see that, you know, in any plan, you never achieve everything you start off with at the start of the year, particularly when you have 51 action items. It is a very full agenda, and it's pleasing to see that 24 of those are in fact complete. Only one is not started, and one has been cancelled. The other are either delayed, 23, or 2 on hold. And, you know, whilst a slightly less than 50% achievement is perhaps a little disappointing, I'm sure, for some of those people who might fall in the ones that have been put in the delayed or on hold. It is nevertheless the process that we go through, and I look forward to seeing some of those, and I'm sure not all of them will be completed in the next year, but it is a good and honest assessment of where we're up to at the moment.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Harris. Councillor McMahon, any further contributions? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour, all councillors present, the motion is carried. NTDC quarterly report. Recommendation is to receive the report at 21.3. Somebody please to move. Councillor Harris, seconded. Councillor Palmer, anything to add to the report?
No, look, the NTDC plays a very important role for all of northern Tasmania, and it is good to see that they are doing what we are hoping is good for all of northern Tasmania. Launceston is the bear in the room. We could do this ourselves to a degree. However, NTDC does it for the whole region, and that is better for all of northern Tasmania. And so it's good to see that they continue to do what we would be good for Launceston in lots of different areas. And so I do recommend for people who often wonder what NTDC does to take the opportunity to read the report. It is only 13 pages, but it is something that I think is important work that Council does provide a lot of the funding for, but it is actually something that is good for all of the region and not just Launceston.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Pardon? No, Councillor Palmer did, but councillors, we're going to take a break for just a moment. We're going to adjourn the meeting for now. Yep. For 5 minutes. 12 to 5 minutes.
Watch it. 5 minutes is all you have. Let's rock out.
Okay, councillors, now that we've come back to quorum, we will recommence through the agenda, in which we're speaking at item 22, Chief Executive Officer Network. 21.3. I turned the page. Which was moved by Councillor Harris and seconded by Councillor Palmer with the NTDC quarterly report. Councillor Harris has spoken as the mover. Councillor Palmer, anything further around the table? Nothing to close? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour to receive the report. All councillors present, the motion is carried. Status report on councillors. 22.1. Recommendation to receive the report on decisions made by Council as at the 14th of August. Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Britton. Councillor Harris.
Thank you. Always good to see an update on how our council decisions are being implemented or otherwise. And it ranges from a relatively new one regarding the Tiger Bus, as we had spoken about earlier today, through to graffiti from Councillor Kai and where we're at to that. And I, as such, might have a question in regard to whether we have purchased the cleansing team kits yet, and if so, are they available at the customer service area downstairs, or if not, when they would be? Perhaps a question.
Thank you for the question. As they haven't been purchased, we'll check.
So they have?
Haven't.
No.
Okay.
But we'll... thank you through the chair, Councillor Harris. I'm just trying to find that one in front of me at the moment because I understood that the resolution of council was to implement that from next year's budget. But I'll take that on notice and I'll confirm that accordingly. But I believe that was the case. So I'll take that on notice and come back to you.
Was it? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
So with that graffiti one, number 2, it says review and enhance the cleansing team's activity in the Launceston CBD to increase proactive graffiti response in high visibility public areas. So does that mean we're still cleaning public? Oh no, that was public. It's always public, wasn't it? It was private that we're not doing. Right. Okay. No, that's all good. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Kai. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge the motion that I brought. There has obviously been a little bit of a change there with the Active Launceston, who are no longer running the program as of next year, and pleased to see that Council is considering bringing that in-house.
Great. Thank you. Further contributions? Councillor Walker?
Yeah, just the status of a couple of notices of motion there. From the 5th of October 2023, the Council prioritises making a decision on whether the site that we own at Russell Plains Road will be required to house a new landfill site, or if in the event that it's not, undertakes a process to investigate options for potential development. Where are we at in that process? I note that you are awaiting advice from the Open Spaces and Sustainability team.
Thank you through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Walker. We've had some preliminary advice from the Sustainability team, who have then referred it to the planning team to look at it from a planning perspective, and now back with Sustainability team. Appreciate that sounds a bit back and forward, but there is logic in that. And we're getting ready to now bring that to workshop as well and brief councillors on the advice from those teams and the individual requirements that some of those teams, particularly Sustainability, have identified in relation to our waste facility.
Great.
And one more, if I may, the flood mitigation strategy, I note that is awaiting resourcing in the form of, I suppose, a suitable candidate officer to fulfil that role. Can we get is that ongoing, a position available?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Walker. We have done one initial round of recruitment for that role. We did that in-house and we didn't field a successful candidate. We've now engaged a specialised recruitment firm based in Queensland who actually have expertise in flood replacement roles. So we're waiting on that role to close with that current external recruitment provider, and we'll wait and see what that delivers us. If we can't fill it through the current recruitment process, we will more than likely move to engaging a consultancy firm to assist us to complete the work.
Thank you. Further questions, contributions? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We've got status report on notices of motion as at the 14th of August 22.2. Recommendation is to receive the report. Somebody to move. Councillor Britton. Seconded by Councillor Harris. Councillor Britton. Councillor Harris. Any further contributions? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour, accepting the report. Motion, it's all councillors in favour, yep. Motion is carried. Determination of a code of conduct complaint against Councillor Gibson at 22.3. The recommendation is that Council receives the code of conduct panel determination in relation to a complaint against Councillor Danny Gibson. Somebody to move. Councillor Britton, seconded. Councillor Harris. Further contributions? Councillor Harris.
I haven't got the report in front of me at the moment. It doesn't seem to be on our system. I did note that in the report back to us that it was an interesting point to, thank you, Councillor Walker, to note that during the investigation, Councillor Gibson made note that he made the comment as a private person, not as using his councillor account, and the investigating committee made note that no councillor should consider using their private account as distinct from their councillor account as being two different people. You are the same person, and for all of us, there is the need to understand that we now have a ruling, if you like, on that in regard to code of conduct, that everyone, regardless of when you make a comment, whether you are commenting as a private person or with your councillor account, that it is still to be considered as a councillor. And I think that's the most important thing I found out of this report. It was pleasing to see that Councillor Gibson found nothing to respond to here, if you like, that they didn't uphold they didn't see that the code of conduct had been breached, but I did find that that was the single most important part of this whole process. And it is always for us to learn as we go. None of us knows everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Any further contributions? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour, all councillors present, the motion is carried. We've got at 22.4 the resignation of Councillor Professor George Raze and Councillor Andrea Dawkins. Recommendation that Council notes the resignation of George Raze and Andrea Dawkins from their roles of councillors and acknowledges their service to the council and community during their terms of office. Somebody to move. Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Palmer. Councillor Harris.
Thank you. I didn't speak on this previously because I thought this was the appropriate place to speak on the resignation of our former councillors, Dr Raze, first of all on his election to the lower house of the state parliament, which triggers an automatic resignation. And whilst George had only been on this council for just under 3 years, he not only sat next to me at the table, but he also shared my hot desk downstairs. So George and I had many opinions and views that were very similar, and I wish to thank him for his profound enthusiasm and interest in particularly the health and physical fitness of our community, and I wish him well in pursuing those at the next level of government. Councillor Dawkins rejoined council in 2018 when Councillor Walker and I joined council for the first time. And it was interesting because I guess many people would see me and Councillor Dawkins as not necessarily people who are from the same political persuasion. However, it was very clear to me that she was an articulate and an intelligent person, and whilst we could agree to disagree at times, as we must around this table, we always remained very firm friends and able to discuss matters, and always with the best outcome for our city in in mind, and I wish her very well. As the CEO of the RSPCA, she has very much a full-time job, and it is quite sad that she chose this opportunity, but in typical of Andrea's not wanting to make a fuss, chose that because Dr. Raze was resigning, there had to be a recount, and now was an opportune time for her to perhaps have some more me time and devote full time to the RSPCA role, and also have 2 recounts rather than 1. And I'd just like to congratulate her on her service to this community. First of all, from 2014, when she was elected as a councillor, then she also went off to state parliament for a period of time before coming back to council in 2018, and I wish her all the very best for the future, as I'm sure we all do, and we know that she has made a significant difference around this table, as recognised by her elevation to the Tasmanian Women of Honour roll. Thank you. I knew I'd forget it at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Councillor Palmer? Anything further around the table? Councillor Walker?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's obviously when this report was written, we didn't know that Ross Marsden and Krista Priest would be successful in joining this table, so we look forward to welcoming them, I'm sure. And without sort of going over the ground that's been covered there by Councillor Harris, I will say, yeah, I'm sure none of us agree on everything. Andrea and I have been very close on council, and yet we had our fierce disagreements at times. So I don't think that there's any 2 people who around this table who wanted probably similar goals, but it's a testament, I think, to local council that you can find ways to work together, and that you do provide that example for the community itself, I suppose, because that's what you want to see in the broader community, is that we work through problems together and find those solutions. And I wish Andrea all the best, and of course our professor, our clinical professor, George Raze.
Our happy doctor.
All the best in that bigger house down the road.
Great, thank you. Any further contributions? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We have no late items identified as a part of this agenda, so we move into closed. With the recommendation being that we move into closed to discuss the published agenda matters. Councillor Palmer has moved. Councillor Harris is the seconder. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We moved into closed, council. Now that we're back in open session, may I please somebody have somebody to please move. The table is correct. Record, Councillor Harris, this is what we spoke of in closed, seconded by Councillor Britton. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We close the meeting at 12:27, with the next meeting being held here at 10:30 a.m. on the 11th of September in Town Hall. Thank you, councillors.